Hello. In this video, we're going to be talking about problem 2 of the MRP tutorial. So this is just a small example. The objective is to practice the different techniques for lot sizing. So we're going to be preparing a net requirement planning sheet for just one product, no subcomponents. We're going to be using the lot-for-lot technique, the EOQ, economic order quantity, and the periodic order quantity. Then we're going to compare the costs and choose the best plan. Okay, so this is part 1, and the lot sizing technique we're going to use is lot-for-lot, just like problem 1. So this is not very challenging. It's exactly the same as problem 1. We have 40 units on hand in the first week. We have the gross requirements for week 1, 30. And so the beginning inventory on hand in week 1 is 40. Of course, we're going to be using 30 units of those units on hand. So we're left with 10 units in week 2. The lead time here is 1, so we're going to have to place an order for week 3 here. In week 3, we need 40 units, and our net requirements would be 30 since we have 10 units from the previous weeks. Okay, so the rest of the calculations are nothing new. And now we have to calculate the total holding costs and the total setup costs to get the total cost. So this is not as tricky. It's very clear. To get the holding cost per week, you just have to figure out the number of units at the end of each week and multiply them by the holding cost per unit per week. Okay, so week 1, we used 30 units. We used 10 units from our 40 units we had from the previous week. So the units at the end of the week are 10. So our total holding cost is $25. Those 10 units stayed in inventory in week 2. So we have inventory cost for those 10 units in week 2. In week 3, we used the remaining 10 units. So for week 3, we don't have inventory, we don't have holding costs for those 10 units. For the rest of the periods, we don't have any units in inventory, so we have a cost of 0. So we end up with $50 as the total holding cost. The total setup cost, or the total ordering cost, is just multiplying the number of orders by the setup cost per order, the setup cost, unitary setup cost. Okay, so this is it for the lot-for-lot technique. Then we're going to be doing the same thing using the economic order quantity. I believe you are familiar with these calculations. We already did them in the inventory management chapter. So nothing really changes here. We're just going to have to order either the EOQ or a multiple of the EOQ. In the first week, we have 40 units on hand. We don't have the net requirement would be 0, of course. we have 10 units in week 2 on hand. So in week 2, we have to order some units because we only have 10 units on hand and we're going to need 40. So instead of ordering 30 like we did in the lot-for-lot technique, we're going to have to order 57, which is the economic order quantity. Okay, it's all the same until week 10. Week 10, we have ordered 114 units, which is 2 times 57. This is because we need 80 units in week 10. So we can't just order 57 units. So to calculate the total holding cost, we do the same thing as we did in the previous part. So week 1 we have 10 units because we used 30. Next week we have those same 10 units in inventory. At the end of week 3, we have 27 units. Here's how we got those. So we have 10 units already on hand, and we have 57 units arriving that week. To cover our gross requirements, we used 40 units. We used the 10 units we already have, and we completed our requirements by taking from the order we got that week. Okay, so the rest of the calculations are done the same. We end up with a cost of 1,380. Now we go to the periodic order quantity. Here's how it works. We're gonna have to find an interval between each 2 orders. To do that, we just divide the economic order quantity by the average weekly demand. Of course, we have to round up. And we get an interval of 2 weeks. Hence, every 2 weeks, we order the required quantity for the next 2 weeks. Okay, we've done that for all periods almost, except for week, except for here. So every 2 weeks, we order the required quantity for the next 2 weeks. We postpone orders when we have 0 demand, for example. If we were to be consistent with the 2 weeks interval, we would have ordered at week 10 and not 11. But we have 0 demand for week 11, hence we postponed making the order. Okay, so we calculated the costs exactly the same way as we did for the previous 2 parts, and we ended up with this total cost. At the end, to answer the question, we compare the costs and